Hey there, TRASTRA fans. How's everybody doing? It's Friday, so we're supposed to do a Friday coffee break, which we are, but it's slightly a little out of format because I'm here to announce my vacation. I'm going away for about a month. I'm going to be back on July 25th. I think it's a Monday. So until then, we're not going to see each other a whole lot. I'm sort of eloping with my family, but yeah. So if you don't mind, I'm going to keep this one short and sweet. I'm going to give you some reading material for the next few days, maybe for this weekend. And there's going to be one document here that I think you ought to pay very special attention to. But let's take one thing at a time. There's one very cool article that I wanted to recommend. It dates back to 2016. So this is an annual report prepared by the World Economic Forum at the summit recently. But this one dates back to 2016. And it's 2022, so 6 years after, we ought to look into what the world leaders thought of the global environment, economic, political, social, 6 years ago. In our time, 6 years is like 50 years, 100 years ago. So I think we ought to pay close attention to these things because some people have voiced pretty radical opinions in this report. And I'm just wondering whether anything they predicted will actually, take place by 2030. And if it does, God help us. So the position number one, straight away, this one's pretty alarming. And I got to tell you, the person who actually wrote this later on, it's one of the, I think she's a Danish member of parliament, and she later sort of rebuked herself and, revoked her testimony, even though it's not a courtroom or anything. But so we're looking at a world where you're not going to own anything and you're going to completely immerse yourself in a rental economy, which is, from any standpoint other than, staunch communist, is not a good thing. You don't want to, because if you really look at the renter's economy, it's a two-way street. On the one hand, it's pretty cool for you not to have any real possessions. Remember, 50 years ago, John Lennon, imagine no possession. Well, we're imagining this world right now without any possessions. But the problem is, whatever you need for your, for your well-being, for your successful business career or whatever. I mean, from taxi to coffee, somebody's got to own it. So you have to rent it from them. It's not going to materialize out of thin air. There's got to be an owner to this, and then you as a renter. So there's always going to be someone who holds all the threads and keeps all the keys close to themselves. So that's one aspect of this thing that I think you ought to pay close attention to. But global price of carbon, that's pretty optimistic. I mean, 5 months ago when the SEC sort of shut out a paper where they thought they were going to, they basically announced that they were going to do a carbon tax audit on the companies involved in Bitcoin mining. Literally the next day, institutional investors who were, deep into the mining game started dumping stocks because this carbon taxing is basically a fraud, in my opinion. I mean, it's an interesting beginning. It's it could be something great, but right now it's set up to benefit the very few that are really benefited enough, in my opinion. So again, this is one thing that really for you to look into, and so on and so forth. There's some pretty cool predictions that have been made 6 years ago. U.S. dominance is over. Well, U.S. dominance is not over. Whatever you think is going on, just disregard it because the United States owns the global reserve system, and the United States has the most powerful military force in the world. So these two factors basically overweigh any argument that's out there. Whatever political rift in the country that's going on in the country right now, it will be surpassed. I mean, there's anyway, I don't want to get too political on this podcast, but on my YouTube channel, this is not about politics, it's about economic. But anyway, so take a look at some of the predictions that have been made 6 years ago and see if they coincide with your own. There's some pretty cool videos in there. By 2030, we're all going to give up meat. I mean, if you're watching TV or, following things on the internet, you know what's going on in Europe right now with farmers basically rising up against their governments. I mean, I'm talking Poland, Netherlands, there's some other countries. I mean, this thing is, it's becoming huge, but you're not going to see a whole lot of reports on that on whatever news platform you're using because it flies right into the eyes of global governments. They're basically telling people what to do, and unsubsidized farmers who are being pushed off their land, so that governments can basically, help factory farming proliferate. That's just not right. So, it's kind of cool to look back to 2016 and sort of extrapolate it, compare it to what's going on in the world today. It's really, really a fascinating vocation. So if you have any time, check it out. This is actually one of the articles that, well, it's not a long one, but it's kind of an opinion of a person very trustworthy, one of the lawyers who works for Ernst & Young. I think it's the world's largest tax management accounting firm. And, he says that Bitcoin as a unit of account, as a replacement for a global reserve system, is going to be nothing short of calamity. I mean, it's a global catastrophe. I'm not going to spoil it for you. There's pretty cool, there are a few cool quotes in it. Check it out. So yeah, like I said, it's a relatively short piece, but it's really knock your socks off. And as a sort of a respond to that, kind of a rebuttal from Decrypt, this pretty cool piece, I mean, it's all, to be perfectly honest with you, kind of bullshitty, but somebody really took time and effort to actually codify and denominate all the rebuttals to the non-coiner crowd, people who are moving in with arguments like crypto has no intrinsic value, or Bitcoin has no real use cases. So people Decrypt came up with a list of things to tell no coiners if you really end up in a conversation with them, which I don't recommend. I mean, these are two different camps. You don't have to clash or anything. You have your opinion, they have theirs, so it's perfectly normal. But if you're ever in a conversation or in a Twitter battle, with someone who's really like denying crypto straight out altogether, this is a cool article to have handy so you can react to their escapades. Check it out. Excuse me. This one is a short but very necessary write-up by Bloomberg. It's not brand new, but it's basically a testimony to the fact that crypto is really spending a lot of money, in Washington, D.C., lobbying. I mean, the crypto industry, the digital assets, the lobbyists who represent digital assets industry, venture funds, et cetera, the big players in financial markets are spending enormous amounts of money on the Hill, lobbying the U.S. Congress. I mean, $26 million in donations in election cycle. It's basically more than any other lobbying game, like the outspend Pentagon lobby. Just so you know, it's way more than the Pentagon lobby spends in an election cycle. So it's not a news, but I think you ought to know that because it gives you a lot of perspective when you look at things. When you look at crypto, you have to keep that in mind. This is a great piece. I really recommend it. I usually don't read Forbes because, let's not get into that. I'm just Forbes is an interesting publication, but I know how biased they are. I know the leanings inside of it. Inside Forbes are kind of unsavory to me. There are some, inner politics that really, just not really very decent, I think. But that aside, this particular write-up is really cool. It was recommended to me by one of the collaborative funds, Morgan Housel. He's a great writer, very prolific, and very bright guy. But anyway, yeah. So we'll cut that out. Maybe not. I don't know. But So this concept of Innovator Imperative, it's kind of a cool one. It's all about your company being innovative enough to allow really bright and energetic people who are way ahead of the curve to express themselves in order to bring as much value to the fold as possible. Because paradoxically, in the regular corporate environment, where there's such thing as corporate culture, and there are some goals that may not correspond with individual goals of the employees, and stakeholders may look differently, on different things. There's always a person who's sort of a visionary, not necessarily a boss of some sort or a top manager, but there's always people who are sort of looking above everybody else's heads, way beyond onto the horizon. So we have to, if you're working with those people, or if you're involved in a company that claims innovation and technical progress and all kinds of prowesses, so you have to be able to distinguish those people and sort of tailor your policy towards them in order for them to better express themselves and in the end bring maximum value to the end product or service, whatever the business is involved with. So Forbes is a business publication. If you're not into that kind of thing, I totally understand. You can blow this piece off, but I think it contains so much very useful and thought-provoking information that I think you ought to check it out. It's kind of, it's not that lengthy, but it's it's nice. And finally, this one right here, I thought you might want to give this final piece a very thorough review, because I think it's important. It's a report put out by the Bitcoin Policy Institute, and it's a nonprofit organization. But I got to tell you, if you're a non-coiner, or if you doubt yourself after so much, turmoil on the market, and especially if you lost money, this report is staunchly pro-Bitcoin. So if you're looking for counterpoints to your own arguments, this is a great document for you, great text, because it basically contains every argument for Bitcoin. So again, if you're doubting anything, or if you still have questions, in the mid-2022 at the end of Q2, or if you have people that you're constantly arguing about crypto and Bitcoin in particular with, this particular piece is a great ammunition for you to arm yourself with, and carry on the conversation wherever you want to take it. This is basically it. I'm not going to do crypto Twitter today, because I looked through it and I haven't really found anything worth. Well, I mean, crypto Twitter is crypto Twitter. There's so much going on there, but I'm sure every one of you has a Twitter account, so you can handle that without me. And also, I have a plane to catch, so I've got about an hour to put this video together and post it on the internet. Hopefully, you guys will watch it, and if you have any questions or any comments, you know how I love getting your comments. So please post as many of them as possible. And remember that we're running all kinds of promos in July. So if you want to win 500 USDT, go join our Telegram channel with all the instructions how to do it, and join our social media, because we publish those contests, those chance to win USDT all the time. And in July, you might want to stay tuned and keep your ear to the ground, because like I said, we're giving away 500 USDT, so that's quite a sum. Anyway, this is it. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching it. Please comment, share, subscribe, and I will see you Monday, July 25th.